We are Refresh RX Foundation. Our core target areas of operations for sustainable projects are as follows: promoting total health, advocacy, research, capacity building, and promoting thriving relationships. Total health. We believe there is no health without mental health. So, Refresh RX Foundation would like to be the forerunner in creating awareness for the inclusion of mental health and well-being interventions in all aspects of everyday life challenges. Some areas would like to see mental health included are primary and specialist healthcare organizations, corporate, religious, and educational institutions. We know that poor mental health affects treatment outcomes of diseases and disorders, and poor mental health can lead to medical conditions. We also know that poor physical health can lead to mental illness and poor well-being. It is a vicious cycle and a silent killer. Poor mental health is at the root of some of the challenges with relationships and low capacity for productivity, and some of the problems in our society, like addictions and crime. Some areas for urgent attention are maternal mental health, public mental health status of prisoners in Ghana, mental health among school-going children, mental health among the critically ill and those with chronic diseases, as well as the mental health status of patrons of community pharmacies and those using the judicial system of Ghana. Advocacy. Refresh RX Foundation wants to be the number one voice for the voiceless when it comes to mental health and well-being. We want to champion support for those with lived experiences with mental illness or poor well-being. We advocate for more screening for poor mental health among the populace, better treatment, and more access to care for those in need. We partner with other organizations to address the barriers to good mental health care, lack of adequate knowledge about mental health, and the availability of coping tools for wellness. We also address the lack of preventive care, unavailability of quality medicines, and inaccessibility of care facilities, as well as the low affordability of care. We also advocate and actively spearhead innovative treatment and/or best practices in managing patients with lived experience mental illness. We also champion the human rights of people with poor well-being and fight to deal with stigmatization, self-stigmatization, and the factors that make one vulnerable to these. Refresh RX Foundation wants to create awareness about the silent scourge of mental illness that underpins a lot of problems we see in various aspects of society, and to make a case for more attention and funding to go in this area of our lives. Let's talk about research. Refresh RX Foundation believes that information drives change. Conducting research in mental health, bringing to bear the reality and hardcore facts of mental health and well-being. This will make it easy for good-minded people, organizations, and the government to support mental health. The problem or burden of mental health is huge. Only 2% of the 13% of the population of Ghana diagnosed with mental illness have access to some form of treatment. Advocates believe that the percentage of Ghanaians living with poor mental health and well-being may likely be more than the 13% identified as far back as 2017. There are numerous problems cited concerning reaching our target of the Sustainable Development Goal 3B. Carrying out research into mental health and well-being issues in the country will bring to bear what can easily be done in solving the problems. Refresh RX Foundation does not believe in only talking about the problem and what can be done, but to bring to the table of decision makers the needed data or fact in helping to take decisions. Research is therefore one of the core tenets of what RefreshRx Foundation stands for. We believe that knowledge is power. We are into empowerment. We seek to empower the whole nation and beyond with the knowledge, skills, and capacity to support anyone who may have a challenge with their mental health and well-being. This will be achieved by spearheading the training of health professionals in best practice management of patients with mental ill health or poor well-being. RefreshRx Foundation will engage key stakeholders, that is corporate, educational, religious, governmental, and non-governmental institutions, in the fight against poor mental health through capacity building workshops. We will build the national capacity to respond to the wellness of the nation.